In a small village surrounded by rolling hills, there was a young girl named Nicole. She was around 10 years old, with soft brown hair and sparkling blue eyes. Nicole had a bright smile that could light up any room. Her parents loved her very much, and she loved them too. They lived in a cozy cottage at the edge of the village, near the forest that everyone in the village feared. Nicole's father, a tall and strong man, worked hard in the fields every day. He grew crops to feed the village and was known for his gentle heart. Nicole's mother, a kind woman with a warm laugh, cooked for the villagers. She made delicious pies and fresh bread that everyone loved. People in the village often came to their home to talk, share news, and enjoy her meals. Though Nicole loved her life in the village, she always felt a sense of wonder when she looked at the big, dark forest that lay beyond their home. The villagers told many stories about the forest, stories of strange animals and strange things that happened there. Most of these stories were scary, and the adults warned Nicole never to go too close to the forest. But Nicole was different. She was brave. Every time she looked at the forest, her curiosity grew. She wanted to know what was really out there. Her best friend, Milo, was the same. Milo was a clever boy with bright eyes and a quick smile. He lived just down the road from Nicole, and the two of them spent their days playing in the fields and exploring the village. Sometimes they would play by the edge of the forest, daring each other to step just a little closer to the trees. But every time they heard strange noises or saw something move behind the bushes, they would run back to the village. One sunny afternoon, as Nicole sat on the steps of her home, she noticed something strange. The villagers were talking in hushed voices. They were worried about the forest. "There have been signs," said one old woman. "Strange things moving inside the trees." Nicole felt a mix of excitement and fear. She wanted to know more. So, after dinner that night, she decided to do something very bold. She would sneak into the forest. The next morning, Nicole woke up early. The sun was still low in the sky, and the village was quiet. She kissed her parents goodbye, saying she was going to visit Milo. But in her heart, she knew her real plan was to enter the forest. Milo, as always, was excited to join her. He was just as curious as she was. The two friends walked toward the edge of the forest, feeling both nervous and excited. As they got closer, they could hear the wind rustling the leaves. The trees stood tall and dark, their branches like fingers reaching toward the sky. Nicole's heart raced, but she kept walking. Milo stayed by her side, smiling nervously. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Milo asked. "We'll be fine," Nicole said, her voice full of hope. "We'll just see what's out there. Maybe it's not as scary as everyone says." They crossed the line where the village stopped, and the forest began. The air grew cooler, and the light from the sun became softer as the trees grew thicker. The further they walked, the quieter it became. There were no sounds of birds or animals, just the rustling of leaves underfoot. Nicole's eyes widened with wonder. The forest wasn't dark or scary. It felt alive, almost as if the trees were watching them. After walking for a while, they came to a big tree. This tree was much older than the others. It had a thick trunk and wide branches that reached high into the air. The bark was rough, and there were strange markings carved into it, as if someone had made them long ago. "Look at these carvings," Nicole said, running her fingers over the marks. "What do you think they mean?" Before Milo could answer, they heard a sound, a soft rustling behind them. Both children froze, their hearts pounding. Slowly, they turned to see an old man with a long white beard standing in the shadows of the trees. His clothes were simple, but his eyes were kind. "Hello, children," he said in a gentle voice. "I see you have found my tree." Nicole and Milo stood very still, not sure what to do. "I am Old Sam," the man said. "I take care of this forest. You should not be afraid. The forest is not as dangerous as people think. It is simply misunderstood." Nicole was curious. "Are there really strange creatures here, like the villagers say?" Old Sam smiled and shook his head. "There are no monsters here, just animals and plants living together. But the forest does need care. It needs people who understand it." Old Sam invited Nicole and Milo to walk with him deeper into the forest. The trees were even more beautiful as they went farther. The air was fresh and smelled of pine and earth. Nicole felt a sense of peace she hadn't expected. As they walked, Old Sam explained how the forest worked. "The trees help the animals," he said, "and the animals help the plants grow. It is a circle of life, a harmony." They passed by deer grazing peacefully under the trees and watched birds with colorful feathers fly overhead. Milo pointed at a family of rabbits hopping near a bush, and Nicole laughed as she tried to count how many there were. "This forest is alive," she whispered. "It's not scary at all." Old Sam nodded. "Most people fear what they don't understand. But you, Nicole, are different. You are brave. You see the beauty here." They continued their walk until they came to a small clearing. There, lying in the grass, was a young fox. It was curled up in a ball, looking sad. The fox looked up when it saw the children and Old Sam. "Hello," the fox said in a soft voice. "I am lost. I have no family. I have been searching for them, but I cannot find them." Nicole and Milo looked at each other. They could see the sadness in the fox's eyes. "We will help you," Nicole said. "We will find your family." Old Sam looked thoughtful. "Finding lost animals is not easy, but I can give you a clue. The fox's family lives where the sun always shines. It is deep inside the forest." The children nodded eagerly. They promised the fox they would help. Nicole, Milo, and the little fox set off on their journey deeper into the forest. They faced challenges along the way, crossing fast-running streams, climbing over fallen logs, and squeezing through thick bushes. But with each challenge, the children learned more about the forest. They learned how the trees gave shelter to the animals, and how the animals helped spread seeds. Milo even solved a puzzle that helped them find the right path when they got lost. But all the while, Nicole's heart was full of hope. She knew they could find the fox's family. The path through the forest grew more difficult as they ventured deeper. The trees were thick and tall, their branches interwoven high above, blocking out most of the sunlight. The air was cool and damp, and the sounds of the forest were different here. The rustling of leaves underfoot was softer, and the only sound that broke the silence was the occasional chirp of a bird far in the distance. Nicole's eyes widened with wonder as they passed by a patch of wildflowers. The flowers were unlike any she had ever seen before. Some were the brightest yellow, while others shimmered with shades of purple and blue. There were even flowers that looked as though they were glowing faintly in the dim light. "Wow, look at those," Nicole said, kneeling to get a better look. Old Sam smiled. "These flowers only bloom in the deepest parts of the forest. They are special. They help guide the animals who are lost to safety. Nature has its own way of taking care of things." Milo picked a flower gently, not wanting to damage it. He handed it to Nicole. "Maybe this will help guide us to the fox's family." The group continued on, the forest growing denser and the air cooler as they went further. The trees seemed to be growing closer together, and the path began to fade. There was no clear trail, and they had to rely on their instincts to guide them. Along the way, Nicole noticed something strange. The forest seemed to be alive in more ways than just the animals and plants. There were spots where the ground was covered with soft, moss-like grass that seemed to move as if it had a life of its own. The air around them felt charged with energy, as if the forest was trying to communicate with them. "There's something special about this place," Nicole said, her voice soft. Old Sam nodded. "Yes, the forest is full of wonders. It's not just the animals and the plants. There's magic here too. Not magic like in stories, but a quiet magic that flows through the earth and the trees. It's what keeps everything alive. The children walked on, with Nicole's heart full of wonder and curiosity. She had always known there was something more to the forest than the villagers had told her. Now, she was beginning to understand. As they ventured deeper into the forest, they encountered more strange and beautiful sights. A family of deer trotted by, their soft hooves barely making a sound as they moved through the trees. A pair of rabbits hopped alongside the path, stopping to nibble on some plants before continuing on their way. But despite the beauty around them, the little fox remained quiet, walking ahead with its head hung low. Nicole could see that it was still sad, its ears drooping and its steps slower than before. "Are you okay?" Nicole asked gently, walking up beside the fox. The little fox looked up at her with large, sad eyes. "I'm just tired," it said softly. "I've been searching for so long, and I still haven't found my family. I don't know where they are." Nicole's heart ached for the fox. She could see how much it missed its family, and she wanted to do everything she could to help. "Don't worry," she said, trying to sound reassuring. "We'll find them. I promise." Milo nodded beside her. "We'll keep looking. We'll find them together." Old Sam, who had been walking a little ahead, stopped and turned around. He looked at the little fox with a thoughtful expression. "You're right to be patient," he said. "The forest can be tricky, but if you keep going, you will find what you need. You'll just have to trust in the forest." The fox nodded, its tail twitching as if it had just received a small boost of hope. After what felt like hours of walking, they finally came to a small, hidden grove. It was a place unlike any other in the forest. The sunlight that filtered through the trees seemed to glow with a golden light, casting long, warm beams of sunshine onto the ground below. In the center of the grove was a small clearing, and in the middle of that clearing stood a large, old oak tree. Its roots twisted out of the ground like long fingers reaching into the earth. There was something ancient about the tree, something that made it feel like the heart of the forest. "This is the place," old Sam said, his voice filled with awe. "This is where the sun always shines, no matter what the weather is like. The forest holds its secrets here." Nicole and Milo stepped forward, both of them feeling a sense of peace in the grove. It was as if the world outside the grove didn't exist. Then they heard a soft rustling from behind the tree. Nicole's heart skipped a beat as she turned around, and there, standing in the shadows, were the fox's family. The little fox's eyes widened in surprise. "Mom? Dad?" it whispered. The fox's parents stepped into the light, their fur a rich reddish orange, and their eyes warm with affection. They walked toward their child, nuzzling it gently. The fox's siblings, playful and energetic, ran around them, barking happily. "We found them," Milo exclaimed, a huge smile spreading across his face. Nicole smiled too, her heart full of happiness. She could see the joy in the fox's eyes as it reunited with its family. The little fox ran to its parents, jumping and playing with its siblings, its sadness completely gone. Old Sam stood back, watching the reunion with a satisfied smile. "This is the magic of the forest," he said softly. "It takes care of its own." Nicole and Milo stood quietly for a moment, watching the fox family. The forest, which had once seemed so mysterious and a little frightening, now felt like a friend. They had discovered its beauty and its magic, and in return, it had shown them the way to help a lost animal find its home. After saying goodbye to the fox family, Nicole and Milo began their journey back to the village. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm, golden light across the forest. It had been a long day, but the two children felt happy and proud of what they had done. They had helped the fox, and in doing so, had discovered so much more about the forest than they ever could have imagined. As they walked back through the forest, the path seemed easier to navigate now. They knew the way and could hear the sounds of the village growing closer. The warm smell of dinner cooking in the village filled the air, making Nicole's stomach rumble. "Do you think the villagers will believe us?" Milo asked as they reached the edge of the forest. Nicole smiled. "I don't know, but I hope they will see the forest the way we do now. It's not a place to be afraid of. It's a place to care for." When they finally emerged from the trees, they were greeted by the soft light of the setting sun and the quiet sounds of the village. The villagers were outside, chatting and working in their gardens. When they saw Nicole and Milo, they ran over, eager to hear what had happened. "We found the fox's family," Nicole exclaimed, "and we learned so much about the forest. It's not scary at all. It's full of life and magic." The villagers listened carefully as Nicole and Milo told their story. At first, they were surprised, but as they heard more about the forest's wonders, their fear began to fade. Slowly, they started to see the forest in a new light. The next few days in the village were different. The villagers, inspired by Nicole and Milo's adventure, began to visit the forest more often. They talked to old Sam, learning how to care for the trees and the animals. They learned to respect the forest, not as something to fear, but as something to protect. Nicole and Milo often walked into the forest together, visiting their new friend the little fox, and its family. They saw how the forest was full of life and how everything in it was connected. The animals, the plants, and even the air seemed to work together in harmony. One day, as Nicole sat on a hill near the village, watching the sunset, she thought about everything she had learned. She had learned that sometimes the things we fear the most are the things we need to understand the most. And with a little bravery and an open heart, we could make the world a better place for everyone. Milo sat next to her, and they both watched the sunset in silence, happy in the knowledge that they had made a difference. And so, the village and the forest began a new chapter together, one of friendship, respect, and peace.